Hello and welcome to the Doug Geiser Show, Year 2, brought to you by the Ashland University Journalism and Digital Media Department. I'm Kate Krakis, and as usual, I'm joined by Doug Geiser, the head coach of the Ashland University football team. Coach, thanks for sitting down with me here today.
Thank you.
Of course, and so when we take a look at this past weekend, the team traveled up north to take on Ferris State on the road, falling 43-3. First and foremost, what are some of your takeaways from that game?
Well, Ferris is good, newsflash, one of the top teams in the country, and they played like it against us as well. Took advantage of opportunities, made explosive plays for us. Second week in a row, special teams, kind of let us down early in the game, first play of the game, as a matter of fact, and then too many missed tackles, too many missed blocks, drop balls. That's not a good recipe at Ferris State when you're playing the Bulldogs.
And Coach, you had talked about this a little bit last week, and even in the Week 1 episode of the Doug Geiser Show, to talk a little about how these non-conference opponents are really tough and they prepare you for conference play. How do you think these 2 weeks have prepared you for the GMAC come in just this next weekend?
Well, first and foremost, we don't like to lose, and so that puts a little sour taste in your mouth. But it does measure you against two of the best teams in the country, and so that's what we aspire to be. And it's kind of a work in progress to get there. A lot of teachable moments with some of the young guys saying, hey, this is where we want to be. Now you can see the relevance of the training, the preparation you're putting in watching tape, so on and so forth, practice. So, really kind of work now on carrying that over and be able to make the plays we need to be able to get back off the schneid.
And Coach, when you take a look at the running attack, obviously a second straight week it struggled a little bit. How do you open it up this coming week against the Chargers?
Well, when you're playing some young guys up front, we think we have some talent there, but young guys building relationships. You get two freshmen and a sophomore, in addition to Ethan and Nick. And unfortunately, offensive line is not a position where you can just have one good guy and it's going to mask all mistakes. So if you look at it, there's only been really about 3 weeks where the guys had a chance to work together in the construction they are now. So I think you see some continued improvement. I saw some improvement, just in the way we're handling different things and building that chemistry. But obviously, we're a long way from where we need to be to have a competent run game at this point.
And Coach, you've talked about it a couple different times now, some new faces in the team, some guys that are getting shifted in that starting lineup, whether it's freshmen, some underclassmen. They've been kind of given these big opportunities early in their careers. How have you and the coaching staff tried to prepare them for these moments?
Well, practice, meetings, one-on-ones, encouraging preparation on their own. That's all you can do. There's a whole process to it, and it's not a matter of them being handed these positions. I mean, they're the best at the position for us to play, so they've got to play for the good of the team at this point, and then just a matter of kind of on-the-job training. And you don't like to have on-the-job training as an 18-year-old against 21 and 22-year-olds, who are physically a little more mature at this point. So when you're not physically mature, you now have to be perfect in your technique and in your reactions. When you're a little bigger and stronger, he gives you a little bit of a buffer in case you are not perfect. And that's not only at offensive line, but at the other positions as well. So, finding a way to get it done, knowing what some of your handicaps might be. Hey, the bottom line, they don't ask about any of that stuff. They ask, well, what's the result at the end of the day? And that's what we're in. We're in a results business. And right now, through 2 games, it's not been good enough effort on all parts, talking coaches and players.
And through these past 2 games, have there been any consistencies that you've noticed that need to change to try to get over that hump and get a win in the column?
Well, I'd say it's just a matter of just keep pounding away, at what you're doing. And even for this game, with playing a top-notch, top 5 team in the country in Ferris, there were a lot of teachable moments, and you saw some strides and adjustments throughout the game. Not enough to lead to a victory at this point, but you're seeing some progress right there. It's a matter of just now multiplying that progress and trying to accelerate the learning curve as much as we can.
And when we take a look at these recent hiccups in the road, how have the players responded? Are they putting more extra time in the weight room, towards film? What are we looking like for them?
The biggest thing, I think that the leaders have done a good job of preaching, sticking together, preaching the kind of responding to the message I've been giving them as well. But the big thing is, we don't carry over games. Just like, it's a running joke on the show here that I won't look ahead in the final segment, when we're talking about the next, part schedule. We don't look back either. We try to live in the moment. And so you really challenge the guys in order to do that the day after the game on Sunday. Hey, we come in, we get treatment, we run, we lift, we watch the tape, we make corrections, we turn the page. And we don't talk about Ferris anymore. We don't talk about IUP anymore. If you do that, you're kind of spreading your preparation and your focus too thin. And B, it's very disrespectful to our next opponent, which is Hillsdale, which is a very, very tough opponent for us.
And Coach, my last question for you here in this opening segment, when you take a look at a big voice in the locker room, whether it's for on the field contributions or off the field work, who has it been so far this year?
You know, offensively, I think you're looking at a guy like Ethan Enders and Trevor Baczynski, Nick Walker, guys that have been there, the starters that have returned. On the defensive side, I think you're talking guys like Colin Strong, Christian Garish, you know, the guys like that just that have been through the wars, understand. They've been in this situation last year. There's not a panic there. There's not a losing of poise. It's like, okay, hey, our back's against the wall. We know that. Okay. The good news is we've been through this before. We know how to respond. Just a matter of going out and doing it. It's not just going to happen because it's happened before. We got to go out and make it happen at this point. So having those voices of reasons and voice of experience have been invaluable, you know, through this weekend.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. When we get back, we'll talk a little more in depth on Hillsdale.
Thank you.
It is now time for us to take a quick break and join you back here shortly. Stay tuned. You're watching the Doug Geiser Show right here on AUTV. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show. I'm currently joined by the defensive backs coach and academic coordinator, Donzel Ashley. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to sit down with me here today.
Thank you for having me.
To hop straight into things, through these past 2 weeks against IUP and Ferris State, how would you kind of rate and talk about the defensive backs and how they've played so far?
Obviously, we wanted to win those first 2 games. You know, the defensive backs themselves, they kind of feel like at the same time like they're disappointed in themselves. But as a coach, you want to make sure you're there for them to support them, to keep that confidence. You know, especially as defensive backs, you got to have that next play mentality. So obviously, like I said, we wanted to win those first 2, and we will continue to work with them to keep that confidence going.
And Coach, you were once a player for this Eagles side. So when you take a look at that player-to-player connection, how has that really helped you guys on the field to continue to grow?
You know, just really be honest with them. Be honest with them and let them know when they're playing good and when they're playing bad. And I think the guys, they appreciate that big time because, you know, we don't want to just tell them, oh, you know, you're doing a good job, even though they may not be. So just being able to really relate to them, letting them know that I was in their shoes before and letting them know that you can always bounce back. So that's the biggest thing this week is just letting them know you can bounce back and you guys are better than what you expect. So.
And during your time as an Eagle, you were allotted with a couple different conference honors. So having that success and having that recognition, how has it helped you to continue to light a fire underneath guys to try to find that same similar success?
Honestly, I really don't even look at my success. You know, I just kind of, you know, relate to the players as far as sometimes off the field, just talking to them, just seeing where they're at mentally. And I think, again, we have a strong group. We just have to let them know, like, you guys, like I said, like, just keep that confidence with them and let them know you guys are better than what you expect. So.
And alongside being the coach of the defensive backs, you also are the academic coordinator. So what do you do to ensure that the team continues to thrive inside the classroom?
The crazy thing is even when I was a player here, you know, I struggled my first year with academics, and now having this role to be the academic coordinator is a blessing. You know, just being able to help them with tutors, help them with study tables and stuff like that to really, and let them know again, like I was once in your shoes and I know what I could do to help you succeed. So just really staying on them and pretty much saying if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
And you kind of spoke on it there for a moment, but with some of these new freshmen, the new faces that come in, what are some of the key stressors that you guys have for a program to kind of set that culture right out of the gates on the academic side?
So we just added on Alex Hill. He's pretty much like a mentor for the guys, helping them get adjusted to college. You know, we have a couple of guys from different states as far as California. So, you know, this is all different to them. So just having them come in and see, like, you know, we have a family atmosphere, and that we can help you along the way and get you started with college is big for them. So really appreciate Alex Hill coming along and really joining the team. And I know he's helping other sports as well, too. So appreciate him big time.
Of course. And back to the play on the field, we take a look at the next 2 weeks for you guys going up against conference opponents in Tiffin and Hillsdale. What are some of the preparation that you guys have done for these two teams?
The biggest thing right now is just letting them know, like, you guys belong here. You guys belong here. We're getting ready for conference, and we know we got to turn it up a notch. So us as coaches, we will be on our guys a little harder, but at the same time, that's what they want. You know, they want to be pushed. And so At the same time, I know our record shows 0-2, but we don't look at it like that. We look at it as one game at a time, just like Coach Geiser was saying.
And kind of building off of that, my last question for you is obviously the bumps in the road to start the season. What are the expectations looking like down the stretch?
Just taking it day by day, taking it one game at a time, just like we did last year, and hopefully go on a run. So.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for sitting down with me here today.
Thank you.
When we return back from this next commercial break, we'll wrap up today's show with Coach Geiser. Stay tuned right here for the Doug Geiser Show on AUTV. Welcome back to the Doug Geiser Show, right here on AUTV. Coach, it's time for our final segment of the show. Before we dive into the upcoming schedule, we've got to talk about Week 3, going up against the Hillsdale Chargers. How important is this conference rivalry to you guys?
For us, the Hillsdale game is played for the traveling trophy. It's one of only 22 games in the country that plays for a trophy. And so we're honored to be a part of that tradition. And for that, it's a unique opportunity, a special opportunity every year to play against the Chargers.
And Coach, we'll, for one moment, dive a little bit deeper into that traveling trophy. What's the history behind it between you two sides?
The rivalry for the traveling trophy started back in 1970. And at that point, Hillsdale and Ashland were two schools that were very like-minded in their mission statement, their values, their morals, their ethics, the way they ran their programs and their institutions. So they said, hey, let's make this for a trophy. And they decided to call it put a lot of thought into, we're going to call it the traveling trophy, okay? So, but still, and it's been around now, they played the game 47 times. Unfortunately, Hillsdale's up 26-21 right now in that rivalry. But it's a very unique opportunity for our players. And the rivalry it spans more than just a GMAC. It spans through the times that Ashland and Hillsdale have been in conferences 4 different times. So this is the 4th conference we've carried that rivalry over to. It's a very special rivalry. It's almost like playing your brother in a lot of respects, and there's a lot of respect on both sides, both with Coach Otterbein and now with Coach Schreffler. And before the game, you're shaking hands and you're wishing each other well. You scrap like crazy and fight like crazy during the game. Then afterwards, we lock arms and say a prayer at the end together. And it's unique, the epitome of sportsmanship, and we're very, very proud to be a part of that tradition.
And obviously, with so much hype built around this rivalry, who should fans be on the lookout for both these two sides?
I think for Hillsdale, their strength, and this is tradition, not just this year, is on the offensive and defensive lines. They returned 4 starters on the offensive line. 2 of those guys were all conference. They got 2 brothers, last name Affelder. It's the center and the right guard. Their left guard, Hadamus, was also an all-GMAC performer. So on offense, everything they do there starts with those guys up front. A lot of experience, a lot of talent, and a lot of recognition through the years. You look on the defensive side of the ball, they got a lot of experience come back on the defensive line as well. They're big. They're going to be one of the biggest defensive lines we face all year. Inside they go, with 2 guys, Sperling and Toki, they're 315 and 300. You look at the one defensive end was a guy that actually played inside last year, Van Beek. And he's about 290 pounds. So it'll be a big challenge for us in that respect. A lot of experience there. They've got a linebacker that plays very, very well as well, Jacob Vance. And their overhang, actually an Ohio kid, Vince Francisconi. And so they're very well coached. They will not put themselves out of position. They tackle well. They're very physical. So that's the trademark of this game, and that's what we have to look forward to this week.
All right, Coach. Well, we got 2 games down to start this season. Moving into the next couple weeks, we'll take a look at the upcoming schedule so we can get ready for some teams coming down the road.
Okay.
When looking at the start of the season, obviously there's some tough teams in the mix. A big one is that home game coming up in just a few weeks against Tiff. That'll be the 2nd home game. Obviously, we talked about the traveling trophy. Any other ones that stand out?
Not right now. We're laser focused on going to Hillsdale on Friday. We're actually going to stay at their Dow Hotel on campus and get ready, and that's the only thing that matters to us right now. Everything after that, we'll handle it at that point, but it's a matter of us righting the ship and getting back to playing Ashland football, playing complementary football, playing physical on both sides of the ball, mistake-free. So we got a lot on our plate for that, and it just happens to be Hillsdale that we're playing to do that for this week.
And Coach, my last thing for you here today is Hillsdale's also sitting 0-2 on the season. Do you think, just like you guys, will build a little bit of an extra fire between the two sides?
Yes, in that respect, I think the fact that we're both 0-2 and we're both scrapping for that first win will add even a little bit more fuel to the rivalry. I mean, you wouldn't have even known that. If we were both 2-0, if we were 1-1, it would not have mattered. We could be at the end of the season both being 10-0. And it won't make this game any more important to each school because of what this rivalry means and what the trophy means. So, you can laugh about the cliche about throw the records out the window. This is actually a game where you can throw the records out the window. In 2022, the Chargers gave us our only loss of the season in the regular season. And they played their tails off. They played inspired ball because they wanted to get the trophy back. So just adding that fuel to the fire, preaching that to the guys, let them understand what kind of a hornet's nest they're getting into is really important. That's part of my job as a head coach.
Well, Coach, thanks so much again for joining me here today, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Cade.
That was today's episode of The Doug Geiser Show. As a reminder, be sure to tune in to 88.9 WRDL to hear more from Coach Geiser on The Early Birds Word on Tuesday mornings at 7:30 a.m. for exclusive coverage of AU football. I'm Cade Krakus saying thank you so much for tuning into The Doug Geiser Show right here on AUTV.